The Angry Orange posted, why does ABC fake news keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air. I'm the bum. I'm the bum.
Late last night, the Angry Orange posted, why does ABC fake news keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air. On the bum, on the bum. If you remember the golden age of television, you remember a time when no politician, regardless of their power or party, was above a good-natured joke. Presidents understood that being roasted by Johnny Carson or Bob Hope was simply part of the job description. It was a hallmark of American freedom. But today we are dealing with a radically different kind of political fragile ego. We are dealing with leaders who view any form of mockery not as comedy, but as a direct threat to their authority. Today we are going to look at an unprecedented moment in modern television history. This is the story of the night Donald Trump tried to use his massive wealth and a team of high-priced lawyers to legally silence a late-night comedian, and how Jimmy Kimmel responded with a live television gesture that instantly became a legendary defense of the First Amendment. Late-night host Jimmy Kimmel is back, triumphantly returning to his show last night after staring down a government effort to censor and silence him. It's a Trump effort that first looked shockingly effective last week. The tension had been brewing for weeks.
Corrupt politicians in Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job. I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents...
Kimmel had been relentlessly targeting the administration's hypocrisy in his nightly monologues. He wasn't just making superficial jokes. He was systematically dismantling the policies, the contradictions, and the outright lies being fed to the American public. And it was clearly getting under Donald Trump's skin. For a man who demands absolute unquestioning loyalty, being laughed at by millions of Americans every single night is the ultimate humiliation. But instead of ignoring it like a confident leader, Trump resorted to his favorite weapon, legal intimidation. He dispatched a team of high-priced attorneys to send a formal threatening cease-and-desist letter directly to the executives at ABC and to Jimmy Kimmel himself. The letter was a masterclass in legal bullying. It was printed on expensive law firm stationery, dripping with aggressive legal jargon. Sending me this article from Rolling Stone, it says, Trump White House pressured Disney to censor Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Disney is the company that owns ABC, our network, and Jimmy Kimmel is me. So, obviously, I was interested in seeing what I was. But according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time President of the United States, was so upset about the attorneys demanded that Kimmel immediately cease all defamatory jokes regarding the former president. They demanded a public on-air apology, and they subtly threatened catastrophic multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuits that would supposedly bankrupt the network if Kimmel did not comply. In the modern corporate media landscape, these kinds of legal threats usually work. Network executives terrified of expensive litigation will often force their talent to back down and apologize. Trump and his legal team fully expected Kimmel to walk out onto his stage that night, tuck his tail between his legs, and deliver a sanitized, legally approved apology. They fundamentally miscalculated. When the studio lights came up on Jimmy Kimmel Live that evening, the audience was expecting the usual upbeat energy, but the moment Kimmel walked through the curtains, the atmosphere was noticeably different. He walked directly to his mark, looking unusually solemn. The studio audience quickly quieted down, sensing that the standard comedy routine had been suspended. Kimmel looked directly into the main camera, and in his hands, he held a stack of thick, crisp legal documents. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kimmel began, his voice completely devoid of its usual late-night smirk. "Today I received a very special delivery from some very expensive lawyers representing Donald Trump." A murmur of surprise rippled through the audience.
He goes, Trump tweeted you should be fired again. I was like, oh. And then I went downstairs and made bagels for the kids. It's like...
For president's fragile reputation. He read the demand for a public apology. By reading the aggressive, humorless legal threats in front of a live studio audience, Kimmel instantly stripped them of their intimidating power. He exposed the letter for exactly what it was, the desperate, thin-skinned whining of a man who cannot handle being the punchline. The audience began to chuckle, not at a crafted joke, but at the sheer undeniable absurdity of a billionaire politician trying to sue a comedian over a late-night monologue. But Kimmel wasn't just there to mock the letter. He was there to make a profound statement about American freedom. He lowered the documents and stared directly into the lens. "This letter," Kimmel said, his tone shifting from amused to fiercely serious, "is not about protecting a reputation. It is about testing the fences. It is an attempt to see if money and legal threats can bully a television network into silencing free speech. In this country, the First Amendment guarantees us the right to criticize, to question, and yes, to brutally mock the people in power. The moment we apologize for making a joke about a politician is the moment we lose the very thing that makes America great." The studio went absolutely dead silent. You could feel the gravity of the moment pressing down on the room. This was a man putting his entire career and potentially his network on the line for a foundational American principle. Kimmel looked down at the stack of legal threats in his hands. "So, to Mr. Trump and his team of lawyers," Kimmel said, his voice ringing with absolute, unshakable defiance, "here is my official on-air response to your demand for an apology." Without another word, Kimmel gripped the thick stack of expensive legal paper, and with a single deliberate and powerful motion, he ripped the cease and desist letter cleanly in half. He then tore it again, letting the shredded pieces of the legal threat flutter down onto the studio floor like confetti. The reaction was instantaneous and explosive. The studio audience didn't just laugh, they erupted. It started as a cheer and immediately escalated into a thunderous, roaring standing ovation. People leaped to their feet, clapping and shouting. It was a visceral, deeply emotional release. They weren't just cheering for a talk show host. They were cheering for the absolute rejection of a bully. They were cheering for the courage to stand up to intimidation. The image of those shredded legal papers falling to the floor instantly became one of the most iconic, unforgettable visuals in modern television history. It was a clear, undeniable message broadcast to millions. We will not be silenced. We will not apologize for the truth, and we will certainly not bow down to legal extortion. The fallout the next morning was catastrophic for Trump's legal strategy. The clip went massively viral, dominating every news cycle. Instead of quietly intimidating a critic into submission, Trump's lawyers had handed Kimmel the greatest unscripted television moment of his career, and the most humiliating part for the former president, he couldn't do a single thing about it. Legal experts quickly pointed out that if Trump actually tried to follow through on his threat and sue Kimmel, he would be subjected to the agonizing process of legal discovery under oath. Kimmel had brilliantly called his bluff on national television, and Trump was forced to silently swallow the humiliation. The bully had been completely disarmed by a man who refused to flinch. For those of us watching, it was a profound, deeply satisfying reminder that courage is contagious. When one person refuses to be intimidated, it empowers everyone else to stand their ground. If you believe that our First Amendment rights must be protected at all costs, and if you love seeing a bully's bluff get called on national television, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think politicians should ever be allowed to use lawyers to silence comedians?